So this week's video is brought to you by Toronto Weather. And got a couple hours over here now. So I just drove from the comfort of my own house, which is, very cozy, very warm, through a snowstorm to get to this beautiful office over here to film some videos. So speaking of bad ideas, this video is all about not bad ideas, but bad things that first-time buyers and mistakes first-time buyers should avoid in the Toronto real estate market. Really quickly, my name is Gabriele Battista. Homes into Reality. I'm a local real estate agent in the Toronto real estate area. I help first-time buyers with their first-time buying dreams, help educate people throughout the market. I love to talk about the real estate market and help people be informed. So whenever they are ready to make that first big move, they're ready to go in confidence. Is just as confident as I was driving through the winter storm today. So pretty confident. And if you appreciate me driving through the winter storm today, 45 minutes to get here, give me a subscribe, give me a like, comment on the video, follow my Instagram, look at my content there. I have a ton of first-time buyer content for people in Toronto. So if you're interested, take a look. Be happy to have you around. Anyways, to the video info. So in this video today, I'm talking everything about being a first-time buyer and some big mistakes that I see that first-time buyers do when they start to get in the real estate market, start to learn about the real estate market. And these are the biggest things I say to maybe avoid, or some lessons that a lot of first-time buyers learn. So I'm going to go through a bunch of this, my thoughts, ramble through them, and give you first-time buyers some insight on what you should avoid as a first-time buyer. Number one lesson a lot of first-time buyers learn is shopping blind. And what does shopping blind really mean? Essentially is, I want to buy a house today, and they just jump into the real estate market without really knowing any education, getting any information from the important vendors on your real estate team. By doing this, you're going to jump in head first. And in a lot of cases, jumping head first can be encouraged by people. And you know what? You're going to learn a lot. But when you jump in head first, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to learn the hard way in a lot of cases. And with such a big transaction like being a first-time buyer in Toronto, you definitely want to make sure you avoid as many mistakes as possible, especially because they're avoidable, these mistakes, by talking to the right people. How can you avoid, shopping blind, getting a good sense is, take things slow when it comes to starting your real estate journey. And maybe you might be really eager to start, but there's ways to get started pretty quickly while still not shopping blind. And the first thing I would say is get a pre-approval, go to your bank, go to a mortgage broker, and talk about what you actually can afford. This whole journey of being a first-time buyer doesn't work unless you know how much you can afford, and you can go to the real estate market and you can see the MLS to see the listings online with some, okay, I can afford this. Oh, this may be too expensive. This might be something that we can work with budget-wise. You want to get a good sense of a budget before you move into anything. The second thing to consider is maybe learning more about the real estate market in general. If you just say, I want to buy a condo, learn about what that condo really, what that price point is, what that the demographics of the area are, what the transit of the area is, what's the market trends when it comes to condos. Are they going down in value, being very stable? Have they been going up in value? Same thing with detached homes, same thing with townhouses. You want to figure out a little bit more about the market so you can make a good educated decision on what condo you buy, what house you buy, whatever that may be. By doing that is you can touch base with a real estate agent like myself, and you can learn about the real estate market. Have a consultation, which is usually free of charge, and just touch base. This is what we're thinking of doing. What's the best way to go about this type of stuff? How can we learn more about, let's say, living in a townhouse in this area? Learn about what the average price point of that property is. Have that conversation with your real estate agent so you can set some goals and you can figure out how to get to those goals and achieve them properly without failing and, having a good head on your shoulders. And this is actually something that, again, maybe I'm plugging my business. It's my video, I'll plug my business. I do very well that with my clients is I always like to have some sort of consultation with my clients prior. I like to, research the market, send them information on the market so they're well educated, even if it's a year out. A lot of my clients have told me, hey, Gabe, we're going to buy in a year. And then with that, I'll send them a monthly report on the real estate market so they feel really well informed. So even though they're 12 months away from making that first big purchase, they feel really well educated if they want to be in touch with the real estate market. So again, don't shop blind, understand what you're buying, get a good sense before you even buy the property. And that leads into really well the second big mistake that a lot of first-time buyers make. And that is shopping with your eyes and not your brain or not your calculator. The reason why I say that is what that basically means is a lot of people, when they first say, I want to buy a condo, or I want to buy a house for $1 million, they're going to look at the properties that they want. So I want a garage, I want a huge backyard, I want 2 stories, I want 4 bedrooms, I want 3 bathrooms, I want a pool. These are everything that I want. And we think the way that buyers will look is they'll think, okay, I want all these things, let's find houses with these things. And then they're realizing in really quick order, the properties with these things cost a lot more than they can afford. That's a lot of rambling to basically say, don't shop with your eyes. Have a logical approach to what you are buying. Don't think with your wants. Sometimes you have to decide what your wants are versus what your needs are. Your needs are something that we have to keep into your budget, absolutely, but your wants may not be able always to fit in your price point. We're always going to have a high expectation of what our price point can get us versus what it actually may get you guys. So it's very important to stay on track and understand what, I'm pre-approved for $800,000. What can $800,000 get me? And then go around that. Maybe we can move what it gets you versus the location. Maybe we can change the location and get you something a little bit bigger. So it's very important to not shop with your eyes. Look for the price point and overall criteria first. Don't just look at what the prettiest thing on the block is, because in the end, it could get you very much distracted. It could actually push you away from what you are looking for. It's very important to keep on track when it comes to keeping your eyes on the prize. And speaking of the prize, the one thing when it comes to looking at properties for first-time buyers is I have a very logical approach when it comes to seeing properties and a very emotionless process when it comes to buying properties. And what do I mean by that? When I see a property, I always tell my clients, you never fall in love with any property that we see. There's going to be great properties out there, but there's going to be others. There's not a one unique property that's never going to come out in the market, or at least very rarely is that ever going to happen. So now we mentioned doing proper due diligence. When it comes to diligence, there's a lot of people to that team. And I always talk about when it comes to a lot in the videos, I mention it, building your team, your real estate team. And your real estate team can involve a lot of people. And a lot of time it involves the people even before you see properties. So obviously maybe a real estate agent, again, shout out to the company that I work for or I own. It starts with a real estate agent. It has a mortgage broker to it. It has, let's say, a home inspector. It has a lawyer. It's very important that you're in constant communication with these parties prior to seeing properties. So you know what, tonight we're going to see a property at 123 Main Street. We love this property. It's a property that we can put an offer in tonight, but we need to be in constant communication with these people so we can do our proper due diligence. And what type of due diligence am I talking about? I'll give you a couple examples. On the mortgage end, we want to make sure that we can run by a property financially to any mortgage broker that we have or a bank, and then give us the go-ahead that we will qualify for this property. Condos have different condo fees. So sometimes maybe we are pre-approved for $800,000, but it has a much higher condo fee. We want to make sure that our mortgage provider is going to finance our properties. So we want to be in constant communication with them. And if we can't do that, we put in the financing condition so we can protect ourselves. Another example is for a condo, where is a status certificate. A status certificate is a bundle of legal documents that summarize the legal and financial health of any building. You want to make sure that any lawyer is on standby. So if we see a property we really, really love, and let's say it's competitive, we're able to run by the status certificate of a property to the lawyer on the same day. And if we don't have these people of our team ready to go, it could delay the process a couple of days. It may take some time to talk to some lawyers, shop around, get a sense of who we want to work with us on the deal. It's not a very quick process to hire a lawyer or to find a mortgage broker. So it's very important that prior to seeing properties, we have these people ready for us. It's another good example is having a home inspector. You want a home inspector on speed dial, where we see a property we really love. We want to get a home inspector in there. Let's say we put a very aggressive offer on a property with a 1-day inspection period, so they accept our condition. We need a home inspector on standby. So having those vendors, having those conversations early on is really important, because once we have these vendors and this team behind us, we could put at that point we could jump in head first and really start to look at properties and get a sense of what that next home is going to look like for us. And the last big mistake that I'll say that a first-time buyer or any buyer in general can make is not budgeting properly. And not so that people don't, because I think my clients do a fantastic job at budgeting. But it's because we have this conversation early on, is my clients know what their pre-approval is, but they budget accordingly. So if at any point they feel uncomfortable with the price points that they're going in at, they can walk away. And let's talk about budget a little bit more. We budget a couple of things. We always budget a down payment. That's the big one people always think about. A lot of people tend to forget things like closing costs, like lawyer fees, like land transfer tax, like title insurance, and let's say a home inspection. There are things that we have to budget in when it comes to buying a property that's aside from your down payment. So what I typically like to do with people is break down, what costs we have to look at and have an Excel spreadsheet budget and go through, this is how much money we need in our bank account ready to go when we're ready to see some properties. So when you go through the process, you're not overwhelmed by, there's a lot of money you got to put down or a lot of money on insurance or a lot of money on these places. Do the research ahead of time so your budget is very soundproof. And, when you're ready to hit the pavement, there are no surprises on the cost and financial end. If there's one thing that I take a lot of pride in when it comes to my business, is my first-time buyers are extremely educated, extremely prepared, and they are very aware of the process. And that does take time in the end. Like, there are a lot of conversations I need to have with my clients where they get to the point where they feel very confident with what they're doing. And this is why I do videos like this. And ideally, I say, what's the 5 most worst things for first-time buyers to miss? I don't mean it that way. I think learning as a first-time buyer is a really long process, and it's not like here are 3 tips that you have to follow. I think it just takes a lot of time and a lot of conversation. And what I would encourage you guys is, if you wanted to have that conversation early on, let's say you're a year out, let's say you're 2 years out, let's say you're 6 months out, let's start the conversation early. Because the earlier we start this conversation, the earlier you're educated on the real estate market and you have all your questions answered. So when we're ready to start, seeing properties in person, and you're ready to, okay, Gabe, I'm ready to be a first-time buyer in Toronto, be a future homeowner, we can go and you're gonna feel really confident about. You might even know more than I know what's going on with your situation. So what I would say is I'd encourage the process to start early, start often, and just ask as many questions as you can, especially as first-time buyers in Toronto. If you do like my content, I encourage you once again, subscribe my videos. I do a weekly video on Instagram every Wednesday. I post these videos. On YouTube, I post every Thursday or Friday. And then I have a newsletter every Tuesday regarding being a first-time buyer in Toronto. As you can tell, a ton of content for first-time buyers in Toronto. And, I'm always open to a conversation. If you ever wanted to book a call with me, you can book a link in my Calendly over here. Essentially, booking a time in my schedule to talk about real estate, anything when it comes to your real estate goals. Anyways, thank you so much. I'm going to go back in the winter storm, and I'm going to edit this at home because no way I'm staying here. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Have a great day, guys. Bye.